You finally get time to do nothing, and within 10 minutes you ruin it. Not because something came up, because the silence felt wrong, like a problem, like you were forgetting something, like doing nothing was something you were already failing at. That feeling has a name, it has a mechanism, and it is not a character flaw. You don't rest, you switch between the apps and call it a break. You call scrolling taking 5 minutes to avoid sitting with nothing. You put on a podcast while eating so there is no moment of silence so you would have to feel. That is not rest, that is stimulation management. And if you actually sit still, phone down, no task, most people can't hold it for 4 minutes before they manufacture a reason to move. There is a name for it: relaxation induced anxiety. And the reason it happens is simple. Busy feels safe, stillness feels wrong. Your brain learned that rule. For years, every time you worked, you got approval, control, the feeling that you were doing it right. So when you stop, it doesn't read it as rest. It reads it as a threat. Think about the last time you sat down with nothing to do. How long before you reach for your phone? Not boredom, not urgency. The silence felt like a problem you were supposed to be solving. You aren't bad at resting. You were trained not to be. Here's the belief you absorbed without anyone saying it out loud. Your value as a person is determined by your usefulness. Not earned, absorbed. In school, in how you were praised, in every system that assessed you on output. The philosophical name for it is a utility trap. Utility equals virtue. If you are not being useful, you are being immoral. Think about what that means when you sit down to do nothing. You are not just wasting time. At a belief level, below conscious thought, you are doing something wrong. You are being a bad person. This is why the guilt feels moral, not nostalgical. Miss a meeting, you feel stressed. Rest on a free afternoon without justification, you feel shame. That's the utility trap. Every hour must be converted into output, improvement, or the performance of the effort. A person sitting quietly with no output in this system is a broken asset. But there's a second function the to-do list serves. Harder to admit, busyness is a shield. Fill every hour and you never have to answer the question the empty hours would ask. What is this actually for? What do I want? Who I am when there is nothing to perform? The to-do list is not a productivity tool. It is an avoidance tool. And most of us have been using it that way for years. Think about the last time you had a completely free hour. Not tired, not between things, genuinely free. How long before you opened something, planned something, improved something? That's you not knowing what to do with yourself when nothing is required. I want to ask you something that almost no content will ask. Who are you when you have nothing to show? Not tired, not between tasks, When there is nothing to achieve, nothing to optimize, nothing to perform, who is there? You don't know. Not because you are shallow, because you haven't been still long enough to find out. Every time that question surfaces, the phone appears, the task reappears, the list grows by one item. You call that productivity. Is the most sophisticated avoidance strategy ever built. The deepest reason rest feels like a failure isn't the conditioning. It isn't the utility trap. It's this. In the silence, you have to meet yourself. Without the achievements, without the list, without the identity the output gives you. And you are terrified of what you would find. Not because something is wrong with you, because you have spent a long being so useful that you have never decided whether you are enough without it. That is not a productivity problem. That is not a time management problem. That is the question your entire to-do list was built to prevent you from asking. I am not going to tell you to rest more. What I want to ask you instead, when did rest start needing a justification? Think about the apps you open, the notifications you answer, the scroll you call a break. Every single one of this is designed to make you feel like you are one step away from caught up. Not because you are, because that feeling is the product. So when you close the app, put the phone down, face down, sit with nothing, you are not being unproductive. You are doing the one thing none of these tools can charge you for. The guilt you feel when you do nothing is not a character flaw. Psychologically, your nervous system was trained to read stillness as threat. Philosophically, you were taught that your value is your output. And at the deepest level, you have built an entire life around staying busy enough that you never have to find out who you are without it. None of that is your fault. But here's the part. You don't avoid rest. You avoid yourself. You already know the list won't answer the question. You just keep adding to it so you don't have to admit that.